When the algorithm of thought dictates and controls a person, the soul is buried alive. Awakening isn't something you take, it's something you become. Hey, welcome back to the channel. So today we are taking a look at not the comparison between ayahuasca and meditation. I've already made a video on that. Here it is, and I'll link it at the end if you want to see it. But we're looking at one of the most important aspects, healing in meditation, healing through ayahuasca. And what is really the secret? How do we eliminate this thought process that we can find our true selves? Well, I never really knew I was on this journey. In 1987, I really went to the Astral project, and this is how I got into this path. So out-of-body experience was what I was looking for. I wanted this sci-fi reality. And who knew that I would end up going on this journey? And just before we go into this, just take a look at this chart. I'll bring it up now. So just briefly, here we can see in 1987, I started to meditate. And who would have known over all the years, wanting to astral travel, it became something totally different. And we can see my meditations from 30 minutes a day went up to 45 minutes a day and then longer, coming to about, 10,700 hours. And then ayahuasca, which I started in 2011 and was really one a month until 2012, when the Great Awakening started. Then it was 2 a month. And we would sometimes have a week ceremony, in other words, every day of the week. So we've made those adjustments. It's about 400 ceremonies, which amount to about 2,500 hours. Next year, August, will mark the 40 years. Over 13,000 hours of meditation and spiritual awakening. Being on this journey, you don't realize so much time has passed. And what I really discovered was the secrets of healing, whether it was through ayahuasca or through meditation. And it all comes down to the mental and emotional aspects of the soul. Because even when we try and meditate, and this happened to many of you, and today you're going to see the secret of it, how to eliminate that algorithm of thought. Because this is really the problem when you sit and meditate. Those thoughts are flooding your mind. Where do they come from? Well, they come from the sea of the subconscious mind, and they insert themselves into the conscious mind. And as you know, the subconscious mind stores all thoughts, all memory. So how do you actually detach from this to be in that quiet space? Because when you're in that quiet space, you're removing this algorithm of thought and emotion from the astral and mental body. And when you've done this, you're exposed. You sit naked in truth. Your soul is exposed. You start to feel who you really are without the thoughts that are crowding your mind. Those thoughts from your parents, your teachers, the TV, everything that has programmed you that you become. And you've got to realize you are not those thoughts. You are not your job. So when you eliminate that thought process and those feelings that go with it, you are your true self, the same as the spirit being that you would be in the spirit realms. And this is really the true secret of ayahuasca and meditation. And as I said before, I did make a video between the similarities between ayahuasca and meditation. And they're literally similar in every way. It might seem, oh well, Trevor, you've done this for so many years, but it's not really like that. My awakenings began when I first started to sit and meditate. So this is really easy. Anyone can do this. If you're ready to do this, this is what has been waiting for you. When we are meditating or doing ayahuasca, what is really taking place? Well, we are sitting there in that sea of emotion or that sea of thought. While ayahuasca and meditation and the breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is where the secret lies, because the nervous system is not only linked to all the endocrine glands, but it's also linked to the chakras. Those portals that are pulling in this cosmic force to awaken you, to awaken the bodies and fill them with new energy, prana and light. Meditation and ayahuasca also affect the vagus nervous system, creating big changes with the breathing, where it allows you to enter that breathless state. And in entering that breathless state, this is where we start to eliminate that algorithm of thoughts and feelings. We start to remove it from our mental body to gain that inner clarity. Meditation and ayahuasca also release the stress, the cortisol from one's body, which really age one. The trauma imprints are released when one is meditating or doing ayahuasca. So those deep-seated issues are brought up where we have to look at it, and it can be deleted or released from the astral or the mental body. which allows healing to take place almost instantly. And also a note on the healing. Taking ayahuasca or doing meditation is not necessarily going to cure one from cancer or other diseases. Here we're looking at going to the cause of certain diseases, the emotional and the mental aspect. So as I said before, it's not necessarily that it's going to heal cancer, because it doesn't. I'm not saying that it can't, but it's not necessarily going to. And also neuroplasticity increases during meditation and ayahuasca. And as the research comes out in the years to come, they're going to see that not only like meditation, because we can see the results, but ayahuasca also has these longevity abilities. When we look at disease, most disease is caused in the mental body, in that thought process, some in the emotional, and a small percentage is a physical disease. In other words, through something we've injured or through something we've consumed or done incorrectly. But most disease stems from the mental body, a huge portion of it. So when we can start tapping into this daily, when we die daily, in other words, when we let go of the ego, all those thoughts that have accumulated, you start to enter that healing process immediately. And this healing process is not for the chosen ones, it's for you. It's for anyone that has that moment to sit down and breathe, close the eyes, and discover who your true self is by letting go of all the thoughts that make up who you are, or that you think make up who you are. When you meditate, you often find it very difficult to concentrate because you're starting to sit in that quietness. And when we say quietness, we're not saying that the mind needs to be blank, but all those thoughts of all your responsibilities, all the things that you have to do are starting to pull you in a meditation. So you can't really get into true meditation because in a sense, you're still in the same frame of mind. So when one starts to do these breathing exercises, especially deep breathing, and we're breathing in through the nostrils and out through the nostrils to increase that nitric oxide. So when this starts to affect the nervous system, it also affects the pituitary gland. So it has a whole cascading effect throughout the body, through every single cell in the body. This is where ayahuasca really teaches us what meditation does, because ayahuasca just takes us to the next level much faster than what meditation would do. But meditation is a sure, gradual, and a permanent development, whereas ayahuasca is only a momentary thing, even though the effects may be long-lasting, even permanent. When we sit in that sea of thoughts, if you can imagine you have this aura around you and you have this mental body above you, and these thoughts and emotions are moving around, so there's a clash with energies. There needs to be that alignment where energies can start to flow, not only through the spiritual bodies, but through the physical body, and bring about that physical healing. So the deeper we plunge into our meditation, sitting in that quietness, focusing on our meditation technique and doing the breathing every day, it starts to eliminate those thoughts. Whereas if we use ayahuasca, even that same process comes up where the thoughts are amplified. It's absolutely insane. And if you don't let go of the thoughts, ayahuasca has a way of eliminating. It's what they call a small ego death, where sometimes there's that purge, and you let go of all that emotion, all those deep-seated thoughts that are buried within oneself, and you are freed from that algorithm of thoughts in an instant. And from that moment, you discover the true self on your journey where you're sitting at that moment. You start to feel who you are because you feel that your thoughts are gone and you are not those thoughts. Your emotions are gone and you are not those emotions. So you sit naked in the space of truth, discovering who you are and your new abilities. And what are these new abilities? Well, you start to realize that you're telepathic and that you can start to see. But these are just the side effects of meditation and taking ayahuasca. So the true healing is when we're able to let go of that thought process. And like I said before, we're not creating a blank mind. We're following certain meditation techniques, certain breathing, and we're doing this on a daily basis that eventually we start to plunge deeper and deeper. As the years go by, the months go by, it starts to become easier to enter that Zen-like space, that quiet space. So you need to give it a try. Don't give up. It's really that algorithm of thought that needs to be removed. And this is what ayahuasca does, and this is why ayahuasca is so successful, because it literally takes anyone and takes them to that stage of awakening by removing that process, by awakening the chakras and the parasympathetic nervous system. the cerebrospinal nervous system, and it has this entire cascading effect physically and spiritually through the spiritual bodies. And then the spiritual bodies, the astral and the mental body, are illuminated with light. So you're going to feel like a different person. And this is why ayahuasca is so life-changing, because in an instant, it allows the ego to die, as in Buddhism. And in Christianity, it's the death of the ego self. In Sufi Fana, where they say, die before you die, in other words, feel what it feels like to let go of all that stuff that is not really you. And this is the same process as death itself. So that one day when you meet that process, you'll be ready for it because you've now experienced it. Really simple process. It's really the mind that's going to freak a person out. Those fears, those emotions, those phobias, all those things that we've buried within us over all the years. So through meditation, through ayahuasca, we learn to control, to calm these energies down. It's really easy. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes. And meditation does this instantly in one evening, just by allowing you to let go. And this is really the true secret. If you allow yourself to let go of the process, of all that stuff that's holding you, you can free yourself. And did this allow me to astral project or to travel into the spirit world in terms of OBE experiences? Well, yes, that was one of the side effects. There were many, many others. So in Egyptian initiations, this is what we call the trials of Osiris. So as you take this inner journey on your own, whether it be through ayahuasca or through meditation, these are the tests and trials that your soul must go in. It's not that you're being tested outwardly in the world, you're being tested subtly through your emotions and your thoughts. So when those thoughts and emotions are gone, you can start to receive the true thoughts of your own spirit, your higher consciousness. And that is what we call intuition. So you can call it the inner voice, or it sounds like telepathy. And the more one purifies one's body and the more one meditates or does ayahuasca, you start to hear that inner voice much more clearly. It starts to guide you and you start to realize, well, this is the true me. All these other thoughts are not me. They are just allowing me to function in this simulation that we are. The real alchemy is the mind. The mind is what's going to set us free. I hope this little video makes sense to you, because it's really the mind that is either going to chain us and enslave us, or through the mind we're going to set ourselves free. Awakening is not something reserved for monks. It doesn't belong to the shamans. It's not owned by tradition. It belongs to the moment you choose to sit with yourself. The door has always been open. The question is, are you ready to walk through it? Please hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help the channel. And if you like videos like this, I'll catch you in the next video.